Hello and welcome to Utkarsh Minds Python for Data Science. Today we will see the most important topic in Python, functions or commands. So what these are? For that, let us first open our Jupyter notebook collab.research.google.com and click on new notebook. Once the notebook is open, I will click on connect and this will be our lesson 7. Functions are very important because they allow us to write programs or write Python programs which can be easy to understand, and these programs can be executed multiple times. Let me give you an example. To write a function, it is to start with the word def. With this def, Python understands that you are writing a function. Name of the function is written in snake case. That means write like this, or I will say print underscore name. So this function is going to display the name of a person. So I will say that my name is Pranav. When this line of code, this one line of code is written inside the function whose name is print underscore name. This is known as snake case because the two words are separated by a underscore. There are many other ways we can write the name for a function, but we will not see that because in Python, snake case is the most common way of writing function names. So here we write print underscore name. When I execute this function, you will see that I am executing and getting the output as my name is Pranav. So this line is known as function call. So calling or executing a function named print underscore name. When I write this function is executed, and what is there in this function? This one line. Suppose I write again the same line will be executed. Suppose I write a new function print last name. This will print my last name. You can see that there is no output because function by itself does not execute, it has to be called. So we will write like this print last name. And now when the function is called, as I said before, calling or executing a function, so this function will be executed and you will see this output as my last name is Pranav. That is one use of function. We can write the function once and we can call it multiple times. Functions make it easy for us to write or visualize or understand our code. It is a good practice in Python to divide the code into small functions and then write it. For example, instead of typing my name, I will simply call the functions and these functions will execute and display my name. Whichever function is called first will be executed first. So if I call the last name function first, then that function will be executed first. There are other types of functions as well. These functions accept certain arguments. So let me create a function add two numbers. This function will add two numbers. I will call them A and B. I will put a colon and I will print A plus B. So this is my function. It accepts two arguments a and b. We can also write some documentation of that function. So the common practice of writing documentation is by this triple double quotes. Okay, so see how I can write add two numbers together, a and b are integer. So this is the description of that function. What is the function doing? Something to note is, see the snake case and see how I write that my function is accepting two arguments. Now suppose I say 3 and 5. I am passing these two arguments. It is printing 8 because a becomes 3 and b becomes 5 and a plus b becomes 8, which is printed or displayed. But if I write something like this, 10, 100, so it will print 110. The same function can be called with different inputs and we can get different results. That is also one advantage of functions. So one more thing that you should remember is that Python allows you or some additional facilities. For example, let us write another function, subtract two numbers, and I will write here C and D. These are the two numbers. So subtract two numbers. Instead of printing, I will use the keyword return. I am returning C minus D. I will show you what happens. If I simply execute this function, nothing will happen. As you know, function has to be called. So I am writing here function call of 10 and 20. So you see it is giving me the answer minus 10. But what is the difference between this function and the previous function? By using the keyword return, the value of C minus D can be stored in some variable such as this. So you can see I have assigned a variable that will store the output of this function, and when I print this variable, it will give me the answer minus 10. Suppose I write it 100,000, 20,000. So what will happen is the value will be calculated and stored in this variable diff, and when I display diff, it will return to me the answer of that function. So that is the use of this return keyword. It will return the value of that function. One more thing that Python allows us is to specify default arguments for keywords. Let us have multiply numbers. Okay, this is how I write the description of my function. I can also write E and F are integers. Integers means numbers, or they can even be any float, even decimal numbers, anything. Now when I multiply, I will get the result. However, we can also pass some default arguments. So let us see what I mean by default arguments. When I call this function, I am not passing any parameter here, any input, but it is then taking the default values. E becomes 10, F becomes 20, and then this multiplication is performed. If I remove this default value, I have to pass something here, otherwise I will get an error. You can see that I have not executed the function, so see, it has given me an error. There is a missing positional argument. So these are called positional arguments, whereas if value is assigned, they are keyword arguments. So I have to give some value here, and then only it will give me the response. So that is the use of keyword arguments and positional arguments. Always remember, the positional arguments have to be before the keyword arguments. If I write like this, it will give me an error saying that non-default argument follows default argument. So the positional arguments, that means those arguments written in this way, should come before the default or the keyword arguments. Then only your function is correctly written. We will see other useful properties and uses of these functions in the next video. Keep watching. Thank you.